Yeah, my name's Joshua Atesh Litle. Um, I have a background as a musician, but what I've been working on lately is a documentary film called The Furious Force of Rhymes, which is about rap music around the world, and maybe more specifically about how people all over the world use rap music as a form of social protest. Well, it's a complex thing, and as you know, or anyone who's been following hip hop for a long time, it's gone through a lot of different changes and stages. I guess I look at hip hop as basically as an art form, and therefore free to move in any direction. It could be social, political, it could be a party track, it could be really anything. I don't believe in restraining any other artist's way that they want to express themselves. I think people should freely express themselves, and that's always been part of hip hop. Is really putting out who you are and being yourself, and that's it. People deal with it. That said, the stuff that I like, that I find interesting, or that I find most powerful about hip hop music, is the way that it can be social and political, and the way that it can confront social issues or talk about social issues. And I can say for myself in my life, I've learned a lot from hip hop about what people go through, as individuals, certain groups in society. Of course, you think of the Black American community in the inner cities, but now that we're looking at it globally, you start to see how, it becomes this way that you can understand what people in all kinds of places, from East German skinhead guys, the last guy you think you're going to see rapping is rapping and talking about his problems. I think that's, really cool. The biggest challenge was money, which, plenty of filmmakers will tell you, especially documentary film is, it's not, because documentaries traditionally don't make the kind of profits that, Hollywood movies make. It's harder to find the financing. I'm trying to think, because in a way, it was enormously challenging. You have to go to, 6 different countries around the world. You're dealing with different languages, different cultures. You're trying to enter, in some cases, ghettos or war zones, and so you're dealing with a lot of unknowns when you're coming in as an outsider, and pretty much, I think most people who've been in that situation, know that the key to that is to have you need your local ambassador. You need your guy who's either a big man in the neighborhood, if you're going into a ghetto or a project, or if you're going into, the West Bank, you need some people who, know what's going on politically, and how to kind of grease the wheels and make sure that, nobody gets into a bad situation. So, as long as we had that person in place, and we had the right person, and we were lucky because we basically always managed to find the right person for that job, everything was cool, and it was all love. But a couple times we got a little too bold, and we kind of decided to wander off on our own, and that was not a good idea.
Why was that?
At one point, and when I'm almost embarrassed to tell this story, because when I look back on it, I think, God, what idiots, But we went to Les Bosques in Paris, which is a really rough housing project. It's kind of the area where the big riots that were there in 2005 kind of was the epicenter of all of that. And, I wanted to go shoot there because I'd seen footage of it, and it's really visually one of the, it's a place where you look at it and you go, okay, now that's really a ghetto.
Yeah.
It looks like what you think of a ghetto as being. So we went there for that reason, but we hadn't really taken the time to make sure that we had a local contact. And as soon as we pulled in, I was shooting out the window of my car. I could tell you the long version. I'm going to condense it because it's just too long of a story. We had dudes, gangs of dudes up in our faces, and and we lost our camera.
Really? God,
Yeah, I had the camera ripped out of my hands, and we had to get out of there with our lives.
It's a shame you couldn't have caught that on camera.
Yeah, well, I seriously harbored fantasies for a long time that somehow we would renegotiate the return of the camera, and that I would have the footage of this guy ripping the camera. No, it was video, but it was expensive. It was 10 grand. I lost 10 grand on that mistake.
Christ, man, that's terrible. Yeah.
And and then we went through. But then it was interesting because it's the whole thing that you run into, in hoods. Because we went back to Trap, which was our neighborhood. It wasn't really our neighborhood, but it was a place where we've been filming a lot. We had connections, and it's also considered a pretty rough spot. And we told people there what had happened, and they're like, "Oh yeah, man, I just did some time, and my cellmate is a big guy in Le Bosque. I'll call him and I'll see what he can do." So we had this whole network of 3-4 cats from Trap calling their connections in Le Bosque, and these projects are 25 kilometers from each other. They're not really close. They're opposite sides of the city, and trying to basically renegotiate the return of our camera. Unfortunately, they didn't pull it off, and we never got it back. So, but that's one of the sad stories. But basically, the whole thing was a great experience, and you just have to be smart and make and it's also, there's an etiquette like anything. When you go up to people and you just shove a camera in their face, and they don't know who you are, and So I even acknowledge a faux pas on my own part, that I should have been more, not just smart for my own sake, but more considerate towards the people that I was filming.
Sure.
To request, to get to know them and request their permission before I pull the camera on them. And so there was something maybe a little, I don't want to say karma, because I don't feel like I really deserve that. But there was a small piece of karma in there. I mean, from the beginning, I wanted to do something really epic in scope, and something that felt more like a dramatic fiction film in terms of the way it was shot, than a documentary. I wanted to incorporate, and I had myself a background in directing and shooting music videos, so there was this kind of stylish elements of the music video. Plus, I felt like actually the music video form and hip hop kind of evolved simultaneously over the same period of time, 80s and 90s and up till now. And so a lot of the visual language of hip-hop comes out of the music video, the fashion and the poses and the hand gestures and all the things that make up hip-hop. So I felt like that style, that sort of music video style, was a good visual approach for the whole film. That said, it wasn't always possible, to do it that way, because to do stuff like that, you have to have some time to plan it and set it up, and you have to have time with the artists to work things out, and okay, we're going to do this, we're going to get these shots, and you have to have, of course, the financial resource to use more sophisticated equipment like dollies and cranes, which we actually, I'm glad to say, used quite a bit in the film. But my fantasy was that we would be able to use it every single day, and what happened was that we didn't get it every day, but we got it a lot. Yeah, I mean, I premiered it in Locarno in Switzerland. Locarno is it's a really well-regarded European festival. It's been around for a long time. And the people that go there are serious film people. They're hardcore. The audiences are hardcore. Every screening we had was sold out, lines out the door, and they had to add a screening for us. We had two scheduled, and they had to add a third. It was great, man. I mean, getting a film made is usually, and definitely in the case of this film, a huge struggle. It took years of my life. It took, incredible, there were plenty of times when it probably would have been the smart thing to just give up, and say, screw this. But I wanted, once I start something, I want to finish it. Most people are that way, probably. But yeah, it was amazing, man, and the audience loved it. And it was an interesting audience because it wasn't really a hip-hop audience. There were some hip-hop people there, but it was really a European film festival audience, so it was kind of a more sort of serious, middle-class European, intellectuals, and they loved it. I had old ladies coming up to me after, old Swiss ladies that came up to me and said, I hated rap music, I've always thought it's horrible, and your film really amazed me, and now I think hip hop's amazing. I love what these people are doing, and so that was cool.
Brilliant.
Yeah, basically at this stage, right now it's November 2010. We opened the film in Locarno in August, and so we've gone now to 5 festivals, but we've only played in Europe. And so we still we're waiting. Big U.S. festivals coming early next year, so we're waiting for those festivals to come around and see which of those we get into. But the film is also being broadcast on the Smithsonian Channel in the U.S. Sometime next year. I don't know the dates yet. It'll be released on DVD by Smithsonian in North America, and then in Europe, Arte, which is in France and Germany, is also broadcasting the film. And we've also been working on selling other European countries and countries around the world. So,
cool.
And then of course the grand prize is to see if you can get someone to put it into movie theaters. But that's, for a documentary film, you have to kind of go through a process of putting it in festivals and getting a reaction, and then seeing if you can find a film distributor who's excited enough to actually take that, because it's usually financially risky to release a doc.
Yeah.
So you have to find somebody who's willing to take that risk with you. I think I would like to say that the subject of hip hop as an international phenomenon, I think, is something really quite profound and interesting that's happened and hasn't really been explored enough. And so I think it's great what you guys are doing, and I'm happy to support it and help in whatever way I can. And I just think it's a real window, because a lot of people everywhere love hip hop, but we don't necessarily know that much about what's going on 3,000 miles away or 6,000 miles away in some other country. And so, international hip hop gives you this, it brings you something that you're familiar with, that you love, which is hip hop music, but then it gives you this story of this guy who's living on the other side of the planet alongside of it. So I think it's really I just hope that people, I hope that it gets out into the public consciousness more, and also in the education system. I think it could be really powerful, actually, and I know there's people working on that. I'd give a big shout out to international hip hop and people that are pushing that out there as a way of understanding the world, being connected. I'd like to give a big shout out to IBMCs for keeping it worldwide, international, and